The Travel Transformation Podcast is proud to be partnered with Give the Goodness Global, an amazing global outreach project helping families in need all over Southeast Asia and beyond. Please check them out at Instagram.com/Give the Goodness Global today. And now on to the podcast episode.
Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast that explores the life-changing potential of solo travel, intentional travel, and location-independent working. Whether you're an aspiring digital nomad or simply want to boost your confidence through epic travel experiences, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to go after all your wildest dreams. I'm Jessica Grace Coleman, author, travel transformation coach, founder of the Travel Transformation Company, and your host for the Travel Transformation Podcast. Travel changed my life. Now let's change yours. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things travel and all things transformation. I'm your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, or Jess. And today is going to be a solo episode, but it's not going to be a quick solo episode like some of the ones I've done recently. I have a fear it's going to go on a long time, and I might even have to make this into a two-parter, but we'll see how it goes. I'm still traveling. I'm still using my tiny little mic, so sorry if the sound quality isn't as good as it usually is. I'm in Switzerland. I got here yesterday after a long travel day. I flew from San Sebastian to Madrid, then had a 6-hour layover, then flew from Madrid to Zurich. Stayed over in Zurich for a night in the Easy Hotel, and then got an Uber to a little, I don't know if it's a village, a hamlet, I think it's a hamlet, called Farweide. People speak German here, so it might be Farweide. I'm sorry if I'm completely butchering that pronunciation. It's about a 20-minute ride from my hotel in Zurich. And I'm here to cat sit for a month. So I'm cat sitting a lovely, lovely cat called Mr. B. He is sitting next to me as I record this. And yeah, it's a lovely apartment. It's a friend of a friend who I met last year in Spain. And I'm going to meet up with that friend, Lydia, this weekend, hopefully, in Zurich. So that'll be nice. So yeah, that's where I am currently. And I thought I'd do a roundup episode of my time in the Basque Country. I was going to do one of my entire time in Spain, which is 5 weeks, but I think that would definitely go on to 2, maybe 3 episodes. So I'm going to do a separate one for the sort of week after the pop-up. This one is just going to be for the pop-up. And I just want to give you an idea of what it's like if you've never stayed in a co-living house for a month, if you've never worked remotely and travelled, if you want to be a digital nomad or at least want to try the lifestyle and you don't know really what it entails or what it could entail. I thought this might be helpful. And last year I didn't really make any notes on what we were doing day to day. And I kind of regretted that for this very reason, because I thought it would be quite helpful. So this year, I wrote all the notes on Google Keep. So on my phone, on my desktop, not my desktop, I don't have a desktop, my laptop, my MacBook, I made little notes for every day. And I think they started out quite little and then they got more and more detailed as time went on. So I'm basically just going to read through those notes because I think it might help you, like I said. And hopefully it won't take forever. But if it does, I will split this episode in 2. So we'll see how it goes anyway. Okay, so let me get my notes up. Okay, so it actually didn't fit into one whole note on Google Keep. I'm not sure what the limit is, but I had to do it in 2 notes. That's how much I wrote. So yeah, hopefully you'll find this interesting and not boring. But let's start. So Thursday, 27th of May, I flew from Manchester to Bilbao. I got in quite late, so I had already pre-booked a car through booking.com, and I went to the hotel, which is the one I went to last year, which is the Pension Ama Bilbao. I think I'm saying that right. Pension, I don't know how you pronounce that, but that basically means guest house in Spain. And the next day I tried to have a lie-in because I'd had a very busy time leading up to this, trying to get all my work done, well, as much as I could done before coming, and all the packing and everything you inevitably have to do before you go travelling. So I was very tired. So I was like, I'm going to have a lie-in. But unfortunately, the cleaning lady was convinced that I was checking out that day and that I was late checking out. So she kept knocking on my door. She was really annoyed. I tried to explain that I wasn't checking out till tomorrow. She didn't believe me. She eventually sort of went, ugh, and walked off. So accidentally made a little bit of an enemy there. But I did sort of double check that I hadn't accidentally booked one night instead of 2. But yeah, I did some work. I went for a walk around and had a look in some shops. I wanted to find the erotic waffle shop that was there last year, but sadly it was gone. And after some research, I found out that they had, at least the chain, one of the stores had done an erotic waffle nativity display the Christmas before, and it had not gone down well. Primarily Catholic country, I'm not surprised. So that wasn't there, sadly. But I got some food from the local supermarket and went back to the hotel. And then at 9:30, I went and met Kiana, my first housemate that I met at the Nueva Plaza, which I went to last year and would go again this year several times before my month is out, for drinks and pint shows. It was nice to meet her. She is Iranian, but she lives in Manchester. And we had almost got the same flight out, but I decided to come a night early so I didn't have to get up super ridiculously early in the morning to get it. And I actually paid for another hotel room, another night at the hotel just to avoid that. Okay, then I went back to the hotel, very tired, went to sleep. Friday 29th, I checked out of the hotel, left my case there, and went to the Guggenheim Museum with Kiana. I'd been there been there the year before, and it was great. The building is so interesting and wonderful. And it was great. We had some nice exhibitions. There was this room with like mirrors and lights everywhere, which was really cool. We had lunch at the Guggenheim, and then I left Kiana to look around some more. She was going to the house later. And I got an Uber back to my hotel, met two more of my housemates, Kinga and Cecilia, and we got an Uber to the villa. It's an amazing, huge villa with a pool, big garden, beautiful surroundings. It is on a sort of main road, so that's the only issue. But I loved it last time. I knew I'd love it again this time. We unpacked. I met Fur, and oh no, Fur wasn't there. I met Eva, who was a host last year. It was nice to see her again. Then I went and saw Colin, who is the donkey across the road, who I loved last year, and this year his fence had sort of fallen down a bit, so he could actually get into his field, and he would often be out of his field on the little path. So I got to see him a lot. Gave him lots of carrots and some cuddles, and, a few carrots, lots of cuddles. Yeah, and little did I know that this was the start of a whole thing with Colin, who I named last year, and it stuck. But that is in a separate episode. You can check out episode 53, The Ballad of Colin the Donkey, to get more info on that. Then I went back and met everyone. We had lots of pizza, lots of wine. Basil and Bjorn were two housemates that I knew from last year. It was nice to see them again. I went to bed around 2, but I probably got to sleep around 3 and at half 2. I could hear Colin the donkey hee-hawing in the field, and it's kind of heartbreaking because it sounds like he's braying out for a donkey friend. But yeah, that was the first day in the villa. My notes say Saturday 30th, hungover. But believe me, this was not the most hungover I would get in that house this year, by far. We went to a local fair with a group, and then we decided to hike to a viewpoint overlooking the Bay of Biscay. And it was really beautiful. The scenery, the view, amazing. But I didn't know we were going for a hike, so I wasn't exactly dressed for it, and I had very cheap Primark Converse on. And it was very steep, lots of rocks, so that was interesting. It was a great view. We tried to go for lunch after that at this restaurant on the beach, but it was full and they were about to chuck people out for siesta. So that's another thing you have to take into account. A lot of places close 2, 3, 4 o'clock, don't open again until 6, 7, 8. You never know. It's the Spanish time. People are very sort of relaxed about opening times. So yeah, have to take that into account. We went back to the hotel. And then I took Kathy, who was a housemate from New York, to the local cheesecake place. And we were obsessed with this place last time. And it had an amazing cheesecake, Basque cheesecake there. And it sadly wasn't quite the same this time. I think they've got someone else making it, but it's still good. And we walked back the long way via the boardwalk and then stopped off to see Colin. I didn't have any food for him, but he let me properly hug him. It was amazing. But it's really sad to see him as he watches us walk away because he sort of follows you and he's on a tether and it's quite a short tether at times and it's all just very heartbreaking. We then had a family food meeting, which we do every week. We got put into groups for cooking and then we decided what we'd be cooking that week. There weren't many chefs in the group this time, so not many volunteers to be head chef. And 2 of the groups, including mine, decided on having a Mexican taco/tortilla night. We actually asked ChatGPT what we should cook. We said how many people there were in the house, dietary requirements. We wanted it easy, quick, fun, tasty, and it gave us this idea, so we did that. But yeah, another group were doing the same, so we branded ours as Swedish night because Cecilia, who's on my team, is Swedish, and she said that they eat tacos a lot. So it's all about the branding, guys. We had some food, everyone else was drinking, but I wasn't because I was hungover, and I went to bed a lot earlier than the day before. Okay, I'm going to have to try and speed this up because I am on like day 3. I've still got so many notes. Okay, Monday the 1st, I got up, got ready, put some washing in. They have washing in the dryer there. And then settled in the main living area to get some work and life admin done at the dining table. They have a focus room upstairs, but they have a dining table, which a lot of people work at too. You can work a lot around the house, in your room, wherever you want. At 3, I had a break to go to the cheesecake place again with Basil and Kiana via the boardwalk, and we stopped to see Colin again. We saw lots of dogs, chickens, goats. Colin ran over to me, and so did a load of dogs that we passed, and Kiana said it was like going for a walk with a Disney princess with me talking to all the wildlife, and lots of people called me the animal whisperer and the donkey whisperer while I was there, but I love animals so much. Then we had cheesecake again, better this time, my notes say, but still not the OG, and calimocho, which is half red wine, half Coke, and it is very tasty and very dangerous. Then we went back to the house and had a family meeting, which we were doing every 2 weeks, where we organised the social and professional events for the next fortnight. I'm also on a road, sorry if you can hear the cars. Then we went to Guernica for pinchos and drinks. Some of us walked in, which takes about an hour, though it's a nice walk along the boardwalk, along the river. On the way, we stopped to see Colin, and when he left, he started running around in circles and hee-hawing, and it was just really, really sad. We went to one bar, then another. We had patatas bravas, burgers, hot dogs. It's hard to get veggie food over there, so I end up eating a lot of potatoes, honestly. A lot of tortilla, eggs and potatoes, bread. Yeah. We drank. I drank more calimochos, and we played Never Have I Ever. Honestly, being in a co-living is like being back at uni. You're sort of working rather than studying, but everything else is the same. The drinking games, the social activities, only this time we have more professional events, and it's a lot more focused on mindset and self-growth and personal development, which I didn't have at uni. Otherwise, it's totally like being back in uni, being in halls, so very fun. We managed to get a taxi back with Kathy using Google Translate and texting our taxi guy on WhatsApp. One of our other housemates, Denis, who was home, he had to come and pick the other people up in his car, one of the only people who had a car. We had another drink at the house in one of the little sofa nooks, the main living area. It's a very cute area, and then went to bed. I could hear Colin again in the field because it's right across the road. Very sad. Tuesday, 2nd of May, tired and hungover. This seems to be a theme. I put, need to start going to bed earlier. This was the theme last year too. So I got up later than usual, went to see Colin. They're doing some construction work, and there's a big pile of rubble in his field, and they're digging stuff up. And Colin, a lot of the time, was just like sitting or lying down next to this giant heap of rubble. It was very sad. I went to the ATM to get money out for the house. We were paying, I think, €150 every 2 weeks, which included all the booze, which was incredible because we drank a lot. And we even got some money back at the end, a refund for like €15, I think. Then we went to the pharmacy. Well, I went to the pharmacy to get some stuff for me and Kiana. I saw Colin again on the way back. I had to walk past him again because the roadworks took me off the main road, and it took me forever to leave because he kept running after me. So sad. I went back to the house. I sorted out the food order when it came, so they deliver it, and we go and sort it all out into our teams. And then I worked until 5:30 when Isa, our housemate from Brazil, did her Skillshare/workshop, which was Playfulness 101. It was really fun. Colin was mentioned a lot. We had Castle Colin and Colin's house that we had to make structures out of things in the room. And I drew a pic of someone with #SaveColin shirt on. So we had like little prompts and little exercises. And I had a prompt to write a fortune cookie fortune, one that would become a universal truth. So no pressure. And I came up with, the fortune cookie is not always right. Be your own fortune cookie. Snap when you want to. So profound. I sorted out some photos. We then had dinner. Kiana's team did an Iranian dish, which was very nice. And we played Rose and Thorn, which is something we played for the entire first 2 weeks, which was our highlight and lowlight of the day. We didn't eat until about 10 p.m. because cooking takes a long time in that house, especially if you have to wait until after professional events and stuff. And cooking for a large amount of people every night, it can get pretty late. But, that is Spanish eating time anyway. That's fine. After that, we played a card game, and I went to bed as it was getting quite late. Wednesday 3rd, got up, went straight to see Colin. Someone had moved his tether, so he was able to be in his little house, got a little concrete house. I could see him from my window in my room, and I looked out and I saw him, his little head poking out. It was very cute. who was following me around like a puppy dog, which is very cute and quite sad. I came back, did some work in the focus room, and then at noon I went with Denise and Cecilia, my cooking team, to Lidl and Mercado in Guernica to get some last minute ingredients for dinner, some stuff that didn't get delivered, and some toiletries and some food for Colin. Came back, did more work, met up to do some chopping and prep for dinner because it was our dinner night. Then I went to Denise at Mastermind, which was all about how to trust the people you work with, how to scale a business, how to outsource. Basically, it's one person comes with an issue they want help solving or, help coming up with ideas, and everyone gives their own opinion, tells about their experience and all that kind of thing. Then it was time for our taco night or our Swedish night. We were outside as it was a really hot day and a nice evening, and we had some wine. Some people stayed outside and danced to music, but the Introvert Club, which is me, Basil and Bjorn and Barbara, but Barbara sadly wasn't here this year, went inside to play tiny Jenga. Cecilia and Kathy joined us for a bit, then I went to bed. Thursday the 4th, I got up early-ish, saw Colin out the window, but waited to go see him because there was meant to be an animal rescue guy coming to see him that day, which he didn't. I think he went the next day. But basically, this lady, Jermaine, from the Netherlands, had fallen in love with Colin and had set in motion. She'd gone to a local animal shelter, Besondo, which I'd been to the year before, and had asked if there was anything they could do to help Colin, and she was worried about him, so she asked this guy to come and check him out. Anyway, he didn't come that day, he did come the next day. At lunchtime, we had a round table outside talking about ChatGPT and AI, which was really interesting. I did some work, I recorded some podcast episodes, then I went with Basil and Bjorn, Introvert Club, to the bar to pick up some wine and have a glass of wine while we're there, of course, visiting Colin on the way. The first official meeting of Introvert Club, Introverts Unite, separately. We had a really good time, lots of laughing, always have a good time with those guys. Then I came back, I did some more work. There was an improv workshop, which isn't really my thing, and I had to learn to say no to things because otherwise you just get way too overwhelmed, and I had lots of work to do, so I skipped that. We had dinner outside again, another Mexican night, with a dessert of tequila shots, and that turned into party games, including Limbo, the box game, and just general dancing to music, while the Introvert Club played cards at the end of the table. And then I put in capital letters, drama. The police came. The Introvert Club heard knocking on the fence from the road, and polizia, polizia. Yeah, one of our neighbours, the people across the road, had called the cops on us for being loud, but it was a Thursday night at about 10 or 11. And everyone was being pretty loud. Do you want to learn all about the 5 travel transformation principles, including how to conquer your fears through travel? Then you need to grab a copy of my Travel Transformation Guide, written by me, Jessica Grace Coleman, as part of my Flip the Script Academy. It's totally free. All I ask for in exchange is your email address so I can keep you updated on all things travel and transformation. Just head to traveltransformationcoach.com/free guide to get your guide today. And now, let's get back to the Travel Transformation podcast. So we all scurried inside, tested out a decibel app, as the police had told us not to be above a certain decibel, but the level they told us was ridiculous, so we were all just whispering inside with the windows and doors closed. I went to bed before midnight and slept pretty well. Maybe it was the tequila. Friday the 5th, I got up actually quite early for me, for this first time since getting to the house. I went to visit Colin, came back, had a cup of tea, and got to work downstairs in the main living room area. I figured out I get more done when I'm sort of editing a book or something, when I shut myself away in my room. But the cleaners come on Friday mornings to clean everywhere and change the bedding and the towels and everything, so I needed to vacate it. I worked downstairs until 12, then we had a mastermind for Fur in the garden. He was trying to figure out how to follow his passion and become financially independent and trying to figure out what to do next in terms of his job or work. And a lot of these masterminds are really good because it helps other people as well, because you hear perspectives and ideas from lots of people, and a lot of the time people are going through similar issues in life. So it doesn't just help the person doing the mastermind. So then the animal shelter guy, Pedro, came to see Colin, and Pedro was really nice and helpful. He loved Colin straight away. He did say the tether didn't look great. He was a bit worried about him, so he was going to find out if he could discover who the owner was. And he said they had their own donkey at the animal place, and he was just really nice. So again, you can hear all about this in episode 53. So I went to the cheesecake place with Basil again, had more cheesecake. Too much cheesecake really, but this time it was better than the other two, so that's good. We ate outside for dinner that night, and Fur had helped, and he's a great chef. He has his own pop-up chef program thing he does every month. He makes a lot of vegan feasts, amazing. So dinner was great. And then my housemate Liz had made this game to sort of get to know each other during dinner. And it actually went on for like 5 or 6 hours. There were like prompts, and we had to ask people about ourselves or say something about ourselves, share things. There were 3 categories: perception, connection, and reflection. And of course, the more wine we drank, the deeper things got. Some of my housemates said some quite nice things about me, that I have a big heart and the way I care for Colin is lovely, and that I should do some kind of volunteering with animals, which I agree with. I went to bed about 12:30, but some people stayed up till 3. Saturday 6th, quite sad because I woke up to find that Basil had to fly back to London and had already left the house. So he'd only stayed for a week out of the 2 weeks he was meant to stay, and everyone missed him a lot. So that was quite sad. Some people went to San Sebastian in the car. I stayed home. There was only sort of 5 people going who could fit in the car, and I was going to San Sebastian for 5 days afterwards anyway. I went to see Colin, of course, and then I think, oh no, at the time I thought I'd seen Colin's owner. I now know I did, because I am reading this in the future. So Colin ran around, and it was nice to see his owner. I came back, got some work done. After a message from my friend Vicky back home, I realised it was the coronation. So I watched a Sky News live stream on YouTube for a bit. I did fall asleep and had a nap during the coronation, but it was pretty long. Then I got up and ate a quick dinner outside on the deck, then headed back to my room, watched Netflix. I didn't really feel great, honestly. I felt kind of run down, like I was getting a cold, and too much late nights, too much wine. Sunday 7th felt very similar. Got up, had breakfast, took Colin his breakfast. He basically just eats grass all the time. He just like little treats occasionally. Then I went to the bird centre with Kathy. Now, I meant to go last year and I didn't, because it was right next to the house, basically. It's called the International Airport for Birds, and they really run with the airport theme throughout. They have like gates and stuff like that, airport gates, little mini ones inside. It was a nice view, really great view from the lookout tower that we walked up to. Then I saw a few coots, but nothing too exotic. Then we sat down, me and Kathy had a chat for like an hour. Then we went back to the house. I really didn't do much. We had another weekly food meeting. This time I was in a group with Bjorn and Kiana. We decided to do an Iranian-inspired dish. Again, suggested by ChatGPT, cute little chocolate mug cakes for dessert. And that ended up being a disaster, but I won't talk about that now. Kathy had made some veggie pasta, so I had that. Well, I kind of made it with her. Then I sat outside with Kathy and Bjorn next to the pool, talking about movies and TV shows. But then I just went and watched Netflix and went to bed because, again, I wasn't feeling great. And sometimes you just have to retreat and do your own thing. Monday the 8th, I got up, had breakfast, cleared stuff away in the kitchen. So we had cleaners coming 3 times a week. But obviously, there was like 12, 13 people. It gets dirty quick. So just cleaning and putting stuff away, putting stuff in the dishwasher, washing up whenever you can really helps. Kathy was leaving the next day, so we went to Colin so she could say bye. I saw Jermaine there and had a little mini meeting with Colin about the guy from the animal place. Then I recorded a podcast interview in the chapel room, which was like the Zoom room, with Claire from Manchester, which has been released. Then I did a solo ep on the downsides of co-living, solo episode, and an update to the Ballad of Colin the Donkey podcast, because I was recording that as we were going. I got a recommendation for a mindset coach from one of the guys here, Denis, who's Canadian. He's a book promoter. Did some editing work, worked for the podcast. And then I went to a Skillshare by Cecilia, which was building a second brain, which was really interesting. And she gave us lots of useful tools, like Evernote, but linking that with Readwise and loads of other apps that I didn't know you could link and automate. And it was really, really good. She also made a Notion page, which I'm going to go back and look at when I've got time to sort out my second brain. Then it was cooking time. So me, Bjorn and Kiana made lentil/potato soup, couscous salad, and mug cakes, which went so wrong. I did about half, Kiana did about half. Every single one was a different consistency. It looked different. It didn't help the house for some reason. It has a lot of kitchen stuff, but it doesn't have measuring cups. It doesn't have scales. So I was just kind of using spoons that weren't really measuring cups and things instead of cups, measuring cups. And yeah, it went terribly wrong. Some of them were edible. The one I had was edible. I think 1 or 2 of the other ones were edible, but most of them were not. They just went very hard, very fast. Yeah, we're not sure what happened there. Thanks, ChatGPT. I'm blaming the AI here. We had wine, did some sketching with oil pastels, played with cards, and went to bed around 1:30. And then I got up about 7 the next day, very hungover. This is why I get sick when I'm in co-living places like this, because it's very tempting to stay up late and talk when you're having fun, having wine, but then you have to get up the next day and get to work. So I was a bit better this year than I was last year, but I still have a lot of work to do on boundaries with myself and not saying yes to everything and drinking less. I did drink less the last 2 weeks, but this is still the first 2 weeks. So visited Colin, did some podcast promo, then I went back to bed. I had a nap. I did work, then I went to Kiana's mastermind, which was how to prioritize everything and get all the stuff done in 24 hours when 24 hours doesn't seem. But I felt awful. I had a cold, a headache, my throat was dead. I had to keep drinking water throughout the mastermind. I was coughing. It was, not great. Then I went back to my room to continue work until dinner, which was pasta night. It was my team's turn to clean up. So we would have dinner Monday to Thursday, or at least 4 days a week, maybe with a break in between to go out for dinner in Guernica or something. Each team would have 1 day, and then another cooking team would be on cleanup duty, because there's a lot to clean up after 12 or 13 people have eaten and after all the cooking. So Wednesday the 10th, I got up, I did some work, and then we went to Guernica for lunch. So Fer drove me, Liz and Isa there, and then we met up with Bjorn later on, and we met up with Didi, who was one of my housemates last year. He was there in the first 2 weeks, but he left before I got to the house, so it was nice to see him. We walked around for a bit, went for pinchos, went to the supermarket on the way back. Now, this place is in the middle of nowhere, the villa, pretty much, and not many people had cars, so things like going to the supermarket becomes actually quite an exciting thing to do. It sounds sad, but it's true. But I really like the whole being in the middle of nowhere thing. Like, you really bond with the other people because there's not much to do, so you all stay together, you all do work together, socialise together, stay up late together. And you don't get that when you're in co-living that's sort of like in the middle of a town or a city, because everyone's always going out doing their own thing, and you might not even see some of your housemates for days on end or at all. So I prefer it this way. So we went back to the house, I got some work done. Didi had hung around for a bit, then we said bye. Oh, at this point we were playing Clue in the house, or Cluedo for British people. It's real life Cluedo, basically. So at the start of the week, we had Fer had written all our names down on paper. He'd written places in the house down, and he'd written an object down, and we had to pick one of each. And you had to basically catch your person in the room or in the place with the object, and that means you've killed them. I got killed immediately, pretty much. The day we did cooking, because I was distracted in the kitchen trying to cook, and Kinga kept talking at me about this book she was holding in her hand, and I was like, what is she doing? You can see I'm trying to cook. And I was really distracted, and it was one of Denise's books. So she was like, here, look, it's really cool, and handed it to me, and I took it off her stupidly, and then she went, you're dead. And I was like, damn it, it was like an hour later. So that went on for like a week, maybe, or less. That was really fun. I went to see Colin. Then me, Stan, Liz, Isa, Kiana and Bjorn went to the 2 local bars other than the cheesecake place for some beers. We hoped to get dinner, but I warned them they only had a few pinchos and they're usually gone. So we basically had beer. It was nice. We were a bit cold. We were outside. Then we went back to the house and created our own sort of tapas table, which we shared of the living room, and that was really nice. Then the game started. Some people went outside to smoke. I don't smoke. It was a bit cold, so I went to bed. I was trying to get more sleep as I was still not feeling great in general. Thursday the 11th, I didn't put my alarm on and got up after 9. I'd woken up several times in the night, really not feeling well, and I was knackered. So I tidied the kitchen a bit, put some washing on, had some breakfast, and got some work done. I did it all in my room so I could snooze if I needed to. Then I went and had a one-on-one with Denis, who was the Canadian book promoter / marketer / coach, which was really interesting because we work on some of the stuff, and I got some good tips on tools to use, programs to use, coaches to use, that kind of stuff. Then I went upstairs, got some more work done, and then we had a mastermind in the chapel with Isa, which was a bit different. It was nice to be in there. The chapel's a really cool room. And it was all about fear of judgment and needing external validation from people. Relatable. For this, we did it a little bit different. We all went round in 3 rounds, and we each asked a clarifying question of Isa to ask what she was having issues with. Then we talked about our own experiences with the subject, and then we gave some words of appreciation to Isa. It was all very deep and emotional and profound. Everyone was hugging, there were some tears, and then as soon as it was over, Isa handed something to Stan, I think it was a book, I can't remember, and then said, "Thanks, you're dead." And she had killed him in the most harsh way possible, just after her own really profound mastermind. That was really funny. I chilled out until dinner, then we had poke bowls and Japanese matcha tea and dessert, which was very nice. We played some games at the table, then I went to bed because I still wasn't feeling great. Lots of other people stayed up super late, and I knew this because I could hear them screeching downstairs, even though I was on the top floor. And there's sort of like big holes in the floor, the top 2 floors, so you can hear quite a bit from the bottom floor. But, it's fine. Okay, so Friday 12th, woke up still not feeling good at all. Knackered, headache, cold, sore throat, bunged up nose. Again, this is just what happens when you try and do too much, which I know is a problem I have. So I went and got breakfast, helped Cecilia do the dishes and tidy the kitchen. Then I did some admin and then had a meeting with Jermaine about Colin. And then we went to Basque Animal Rescue Centre to have our meeting there. I won't go into it because you can hear all about it in episode 53. It was a really good meeting, really hopeful. And yeah, we came back updated fur, then it was time for Jermaine to leave. But before she did, we did a little photo shoot with us and Colin for business use. For Colin and Co, which we thought was quite a good name for what we're doing, like Son and Co. Then I went inside, chilled in my room until dinner. Fur had spent 6 hours in the kitchen. So Fur is Fernando, who was our host. Eva was there for the first 2 weeks and a little bit over that. Then she left and we had Fur for the last 4 weeks. I knew him last time from when I went to the main Son and Co house in Javier. He's Spanish and he's a great chef. And he had spent 6 hours in the kitchen and had created an epic plant-based feast and dessert. And it was just so amazing. We had G&Ts and lemonade. And Kiana and Stan had gone to the shop, I think, with Dinny in his car to get the tonic for the gym. And they'd also bought some of those soft Cadbury egg spoon things. And Kiana, because she lives in Britain and she knows I do too, obviously, she sort of came and sort of told me that there's secret egg and spoon things for me. And they gave me 2. And I was like, yes. Went and hid them in my room and had them later on. So we had a break of about an hour. After that, several people went to lie down after the gin. It was all too much. Then we had our house jam, which Isa had sorted out, organised. We had all had to send her a song earlier that day, and she had created an exercise for each one, and we had it in the chapel. So some of the things were we had to take objects from around the house that we could create instruments from. So I took my metal drinks container. That's just my nail, but I'd used my ring to tap against it, and that was my my instrument. It was something. Then so we were sort of jamming out there with our handmade. Lots of people had put stuff in jars to create shakers and that kind of stuff. Kiana had a bag and she was whacking it with a water bottle, and we all switched. Whacking the bag was actually quite therapeutic. Then we had some we put blindfolds on, we did some dancing in the dark, we did some contact dancing where you always have to be in contact with your partner, or I was in a group of 3, and then we did one with the whole group where you all had to be in sort of contact with at least one body part and sort of see where the dance goes. Yeah, one guy left before that. Some people don't find this easy to do. It's quite uncomfortable, quite weird. I get it, I'm not really into this kind of thing, but I had told myself that I would stay through the whole hour and get it done. So I did, and it was actually really fun. After that, we went downstairs to have chocolate/banana cake that Fur had made for Liz's birthday. We had more gin, we played more games, and we did more talking. It was really fun. We played Time's Up, where you have to describe a word on a piece of paper that you pick out of a bowl that we'd all written down, 4 different ones, without saying the word. Then you had to describe it just using one word, but by this point the whole team has heard all the ones in the bowl, so you can have an idea of what they're talking about. Then you have to describe that word just with an action and then just with a sound, and the last round was really funny. And our team won. I went to bed around 1 a.m, but before that I said bye to Bjorn because he was leaving early the next morning. It was the end of our 2 weeks and the start of another 2 weeks when we all switched over, and yeah, it was really sad because Bjorn's awesome. I knew him from last year. It's part of Introvert Club. I've since created a WhatsApp group, Introvert Club, with me, Bjorn, Basil and Barbara for last year, and hopefully we're going to meet up at some point, maybe in Europe somewhere. Basil and I live in the UK, Barbara lives in the US, and Bjorn is from Denmark, but he travels a lot. So hopefully we'll get to meet up. Then I went to bed, and that is the end of my first half of the notes, so I think that would be a good place to stop this episode and continue in the next one. So I will do that. I will do part 2 of my pop-up Basque Country roundup. Then I will do a separate episode for the sort of pop-up spin-off we did that a lot of us went on to Bilbao, and then a few of us went to San Sebastian as well. So hopefully this has given you some idea so far of what it's like to live in a co-living house. And I'll see you next time for the second lot of notes for my last 2 weeks in the co-living villa. So thanks for listening, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and spread the word if you have friends or family who also want to transform through travel. For a chance of winning one of my books in ebook form, please review this podcast on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot or just your name to info@traveltransformationcoach.com or at traveltransformationcoach on Instagram. I'll be picking a new winner each month, and you can choose between any of my non-fiction titles, including Write Your Life, Write Your Year, and Intentional Travel Transformation. You can find out more about me at traveltransformationcoach.com, where you can also get your free travel transformation guide. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.